In a world filled with constant noise, whether it's the hum of city life, the endless buzz of media, or the epic soundtracks of video games, it's easy to overlook what is not there. Silence. In video games, it is often used sparingly, quietly, as a tool that evokes emotions we may not even realize we are feeling. It's not simply a lack of sound, it's a deliberate choice to guide our experience, creating a space for reflection, tension, and connection. But what happens when silence isn't just the absence of noise, but an active tool of storytelling? In those moments, silence becomes more than just a pause. It transforms into a powerful narrative device, heightening the emotional weight of a scene or guiding our attention to something unseen, yet deeply felt. It challenges our expectations, forcing us to confront the unspoken, the unknown, and often overlooked parts of the story. Today, we'll explore how video games use silence, not just as a gap between sounds, but as a means to shape our experience and immerse us in worlds where what's not being said can speak volumes. Take a moment to think about a game you played where silence really stood out. Not the absence of all sound, but rather the absence of expectation. The Last of Us Part 2 is an excellent example of how silence can make an experience deeply unsettling. There are long stretches where you are left with just the ambient sounds of the environment, the whisper of the wind, the distant chirp of birds, the crackle of dry leaves underfoot. It's not the absence of sound, but the absence of music, the absence of that guiding hand that usually tells us what we should feel. These moments can be uncomfortable. We're so used to having a soundtrack or cues that lead us through a scene, guiding our emotions. But when that music fades and all that remains is the sound of the world itself, we're left with nothing to hold on to. We are forced to pay attention to the smallest of details. This quietness invites us to be hyper-aware, like the calm before a storm, an unease that builds as we wait for something to break the silence. Then there's Journey, a game where silence isn't just an absence, it's woven into the very fabric of the experience. Here, the silence doesn't feel empty, it's full of potential. As you traverse the vast, empty desert, there is nothing but the sound of your own movements and the occasional melodic chime when you interact with other players. In this world, silence is the emotional backdrop for your journey. When you meet another player in Journey, there's no voice chat, no direct communication. It's a silence that deepens the connection between you both, making the encounter more intimate. There's no need for words. The game pushes you to communicate in ways that are subtle but powerful, through body language, shared movement, and the quiet understanding that both players are experiencing something together in silence. Silence also plays a key role in building tension, especially in games where the unknown looms large. In Silent Hill 2, the eerily quiet streets only amplify the dread that permeates the town. The fog itself becomes a metaphorical form of silence, a veil that hides danger just out of sight, leaving you alone with your own thoughts and fears. And when sound does return, it's jarring. A sudden creak of a door, a distant scream, a shifting shadow. All these sounds break the silence, creating an unsettling contrast. The silence has been holding back something, and when it cracks, the world around you seems even more dangerous. It's not just a pause, it's a device for building tension, letting the player's imagination fill in the blanks, and making every unexpected sound feel that much more frightening. But silence can also be a moment of solitude, offering a chance for introspection. In Red Dead Redemption 2, there are stretches of gameplay where you find yourself alone in the wilderness, with nothing but the sounds of nature to keep you company. No quests, no gunshots, just the vast, empty world around you. These quiet moments are meditative. The silence invites you to reflect, not just on Arthur's journey, but on your own. As you sit beside the fire, time seems to slow down. You're not rushing to complete a mission or solve a puzzle. You're simply present, in the moment, feeling the weight of solitude. In these moments, you begin to understand Arthur more deeply, not through words, but through the space between them, in the silence that echoes his inner thoughts. In a medium so often defined by interaction, action, and spectacle, silence in video games stands out as something both powerful and deeply meaningful. It's not merely a void, it's a tool for emotional depth, for building tension, for creating intimacy, and for allowing players to project their own thoughts and feelings onto the world around them. Silence becomes a presence in its own right, giving players the space to reflect, to be scared, to connect, or to simply be. So next time you find yourself in a quiet moment in a game, take a breath, listen to the silence, because sometimes it's the most powerful sound of all.